Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that affects pretty much everything, from global trade to your own vacation plans. How do foreign exchange rates really work? Let's get into it.
So, let's start with a question that gets at a really common misconception. When a bank trades millions of dollars for euros, does that money just zap across the globe instantly? You'd think so, right? But the answer is actually no. And the secret to understanding this is a little thing called the value date. This isn't the day the deal is agreed to, it's the day that currencies actually get exchanged. And you'll see, this little delay is the key to how the entire Forex system is built.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll figure out when a deal is really done. Then we'll look at the two main prices in the market, spot and forward rates. After that, we're going to uncover why future prices are different, learn how to read a Forex quote, and finally, see how it all connects into one massive global web.
Okay, first up, timing. How long does it actually take for the money to move from one party to the other?
Well, you've got a few options. There are ready or cash deals that settle on the same day. Then you have TOM deals, that's just shorthand for tomorrow, which settle the next business day. But the huge majority of trades, the ones that really move the market, are done on a spot basis. And that means settlement happens 2 business days after the deal is made. That's the market's default setting. Now, that 2-day settlement window is super important because it leads us directly to the 2 main types of prices you'll see in the Forex market, the spot rate and the forward rate. First, you've got the spot rate. Since most deals settle in 2 days, this is what everyone considers the current price of a currency. It's the baseline, the benchmark that everything else is measured against.
But what if you're a company that needs to pay a supplier in, say, 3 months? You don't want to wait and see what the rate will be then. That's where the forward rate comes in. It's a rate you agree on today for a currency exchange that will happen sometime after that standard 2-day spot window.
So the bottom line is this. Spot is for right now. Well, 2 days from now. And forward is for later. And for a business, this is a total game changer. Using a forward rate is like locking in a price today. It takes all the guesswork and risk out of future payments. Okay, so this leads to a really fascinating question. Why would a rate for 3 months in the future be any different from today's spot rate? It's not just a guess or a prediction. There's a very specific and kind of brilliant financial logic behind it.
The difference between that spot rate and the forward rate has a name. It's called the forward margin. And it's pretty simple. If a currency is priced to be more expensive in the future, we say it's trading at a premium. If it's expected to be cheaper, it's at a discount.
And believe it or not, the math is incredibly simple. You just take the spot rate and you either add the premium or you subtract the discount. So in this example, to find the 6-month forward rate for the US dollar against the Indian rupee, you just add that premium right on top of the spot rate.
But wait, that just kicks the can down the road, doesn't it? Where does that premium or discount number even come from? Is it just random supply and demand? Well, yes, but it's a very specific kind of supply and demand.
It almost always comes down to one thing: interest rates. Just imagine this. Let's say interest rates in the UK are 4%, but they're only 2% in the US. An investor would obviously want to sell their dollars and buy British pounds now to earn that higher interest. But to protect themselves, at the exact same time, they'd lock in a forward deal to sell those pounds back into dollars later. See what's happening? They're creating demand for pounds in the spot market and demand for dollars in the forward market. And the forward rate adjusts with a premium or a discount to perfectly balance out that interest rate difference. Essentially, it makes sure there's no such thing as a free lunch.
All right, so we've got the theory down. But what does all this actually look like when you see a rate on a trading screen? How are they presented?
Turns out there are 2 main ways. The first is a direct quote, which tells you how much of your home currency you need for 1 unit of a foreign currency. So in India, you'd see that 1 US dollar costs 74.95 rupees. Simple enough. But some places, like the UK, use an indirect quote. There, it's flipped. You'll see that 1 unit of their home currency, the British pound, is worth some amount of a foreign currency, like 1.36 US dollars. Most of the world quotes against the US dollar directly, but a few big ones, like the pound and the euro, do it indirectly.
So this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. What happens if you're in India and you need to pay someone in British pounds,
But there isn't a big active market for that specific currency pair. How do you figure out the price?
This is where the market gets really clever. Even if you can't get a direct rate between the pound and the rupee, you can almost always find the rates for both of them against a common third currency. And that third currency is usually the US dollar.
The solution is this elegant little piece of math called the chain rule, which gives us something called a cross rate. You basically just multiply the pound to dollar rate by the dollar to rupee rate. And, like magic, the US dollar in the middle just cancels itself out, and what you're left with is a perfect calculated rate for pounds to rupees.
It might seem like just a simple calculation, but this is the very mechanism that stitches the entire global currency market into one single interconnected system. It's what makes it possible to find a price for pretty much any currency pair on the planet.
So, after all that, it would be really easy to look at a forward rate and think it's a prediction of where the currency is headed, but it's so important to remember that it is not. It's just a number derived from today's spot rate and today's interest rates. As this quote puts it perfectly, it's an expectation, it's not a guarantee.
And that leaves us with one last nagging question. If all these rates are so tightly linked by math, through spot rates and interest rates and cross rates, how on earth can any trader make a profit from those tiny split-second price differences that pop up? How is arbitrage even possible? Well, that's a story for another explainer.